YouTube, how are you? My name is Reflex Killer, and today I'm bringing you an instructional video on how to get into Masters on Black Ops 4 League Play. So, we're going to cover a few things and stuff that you might have already heard in other videos, stuff you might not have heard before, but stuff that I'm going to bring that's personalised towards me from my experiences of playing in League Play on Black Ops 4. So, first I want to make it very, very clear, I'm not myself in Masters, but I've been grinding this game, and especially on League Play, since day one when League Play came out. You know, I've been playing 6-7 hours a day. I've been talking to different people and talking to people that are currently in Masters, and just kind of getting advice and opinions from what we think are the criteria to get into Masters. So, I'm going to go through a few different bits and bobs, and kind of the most important bit of the actual video is in the middle, so make sure you stay watching. So the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the basics of it. So basically, League Play is competitive. You want to do as well as you humanly can in order to make sure that you get into Masters. So first things first is, obviously, in order to do that, you want to be using the right guns at the right time. So as you'll know from League Play, everybody uses the SORG, the MADOX, and the ICR. I'm not saying that you have to use those, but basically what that means is that obviously they're using them for a reason, because these guns are pretty good, if not the best in the game. So if you're somebody that does really, really well with the MX9, just use the MX9. Nobody's going to tell you differently. If it makes you play well, if you don't have a preference, then go to these kind of three as a standard. So yeah, so nobody can tell you what to actually use, but if you talk to Masters and people that are currently in the situation, they'll tell you kind of what they run. So ask people, what do you run on your Maddox, what do you run on your SORG, and everything like that. So it's something that you want to keep in mind and kind of try and do yourself to make yourself better. Running alongside that is, when you're using certain guns in certain game modes, make sure that you're in the right situation, the right scenario to actually use that gun. So obviously within League Play, you've got search and destroy, you've got control, and you've got hardpoint. If you're somebody that's holding spawns on hardpoint, make sure you're using an ICR, regardless of the situation, because you know that when you're doing that, all of your engagements are going to be at long range. So you don't really run a SORG, and it's just going to help you do better if you're using the right gun in the right situation. I don't need to explain to you, the SORG is close range and stuff like that, but make sure that you're being smart about it when you play League Play. And I'm saying be smart about it in every single game that you play on League Play. You want to do well, so be smart, be switched on. Next thing I want to talk to you about is kind of the map rotation. So, as I said to you, in certain situations, use certain guns. In certain game modes as well, you'll know that certain game modes and certain maps are close quarters and long quarters, whatever it might be, long range. Make sure that you're using the right gun for that particular map. You can tend to work out, if you speak to Masters and people that are currently playing, what gun you should be using. But as I did say to you before, if you're not, you're not doing well with it, just kind of change things up. Often people will play League Play and they'll be really good players, but they've just been grinding for too long, and they'll be in a negative mindset, and their eyes and their shot will go. And I'll say to them, change it up. If you're at the bottom of the scoreboard, change it up. And what are you using at the moment? They'll say, I'm using a Maddox. I'll say, okay, no worries, pull out a SORG, play the objectives, do whatever you can to kind of change things up, because you want to win. So if you're coaching and encouraging others around you, taking advice from others, you'll definitely become a better player and helping them to do better. So it's something that you want to give positive encouragement for, and just help yourself and others do better around you. So as you can see, when I'm playing this kind of game, I think I'm at the bottom of the scoreboard for 3/4 of the game. I ended up finishing, I think, 37 kills and 16 deaths or whatever it was. So not a great game, but not a bad one. It was my placement game actually, which placed me into elite. But there we go. Next thing I want to talk about is squadding up. So 5-man stacks, 5-man, whatever you want to call it, 5-man team. The goods, the bads, and the uglies from it. If it's worth doing. My experience is that when you play the 5-man, it's good because people push you to do better. There's a lot of masters in there. You get to play with people that when you have a bad game, they're going to carry you through the bad times. But it pushes you to do better because you want to be at the top of the scoreboard against your friends, people that people want to get. And it's going to help you to be a better player, really. But having said that, when you play in a 5-man, you're definitely going to come up against other 5-man teams more often, I've found. I'm not saying that's 100% true, but it's whenever I seem to play in a 5-man, we come up against 5-men who are playing together, they're communicating, and communication is such a big key aspect in this, in League Play, to call out and everything like that. So sometimes when you're playing in a 5-man, people will get negative, and by that one I mean when you lose as a team, they'll go, oh, I'm going off now, or you did really bad, or you did this and you didn't do that, and it can create tension, which is just not what you need. You're there to enjoy the game and to have fun, so make sure that you're playing in a 5-man which suits you. Make sure you're playing with people that have positive vibes. The way to get around this that I found is to play in a 4-man and just pick up one random person as you go along. So, and just hope that one random person can get a few kills, and that your 4-man is good enough to get to get you that win. So, I found that playing in a 5-man, you know, when you come up against these teams, yes, you can learn from them because you're playing against people that are really, really good. But just get yourself a solid 4-man and just pick up one extra random person. Next thing I want to talk about is the stats. So, being in a certain bracket, there's nobody going to sit and watch each individual game of League Play to decipher what bracket each person should go into. It's based on a computer system and on an algorithm which looks at your stats, your score per minute, your KD, your win-loss, and everything like that. So you want to make sure that these stats are as good as humanly possible. I think my KD, I run a 1.7 and a score per minute of 280. I think people in Masters are running, I will be there soon, I will be in Masters soon, but when I speak to them, they're running like a 2.0 KD on a 330 score per minute. So you want to be that person that diffuses the bomb. You want to be that person that that is breaking the hard point, the person that's playing the objective, that's slaying, that's getting the kills inside the hard point. Think of everything. So when you're getting kills, you're getting more kills, more XP for and a better score by killing people inside the hard point. So don't necessarily be on your placement games that person who's going to sit at the back and hold spawns, because you're not going to get as many kills. Yes, it might be an important role, but try and see if you can get somebody else to do it so you can play the objective. And my damage is always higher than everybody else's, but I don't complete my kills, as you can see just there. So I put loads of damage into him. One of my teammates will complete it, but that just means that my damage, although it's the highest on the scoreboard, I've not always got the highest score. So, and there's not a damage per minute. Well, there is a damage per minute, but I don't think that takes it into account. It's more of your score per minute. So you want to be looking at that and making sure that you're completing your kills and stuff, and not relying on teammates to do it, which is something I know that I need to work on. So find something that you need to work on and bring that into account, and then make yourself a better player as a result of it. So as you can see at the bottom at the moment, I think my damage is higher than everybody else's, but my score per minute, my finishing, I finished, I think, top on this because I had 36 and 16, which is not a big kill gameplay, but it's a League Play game. I would expect probably our Masters to have gone maybe 42 and 16. That's the difference between somebody that's in Elite and somebody that's in Master. I'm not saying that's 100% the difference, but it's 99.9% of myself. I'm sure that people that are holding this, they're holding a 330 score per minute and a decent KD to go alongside that. Next thing I want to talk about is playing solo. Playing solo is not the end of the world, but in effect, if you look at a League Play ladder, you can actually see, in your ladder there'll be like Foxtrot 07 elites. There'll also be masters inside your ladder, or people that I think those people that are inside my ladder that are masters are at the bottom end of the bracket of being in masters, and those people that are in the elite in my ladder are at the top end of being in elite, that are pushing masters. So as I said, it's not the end of the world to play solo, but you're going to find that you're not going to win as much because your team might rage, they might leave. There's a League Play famous for people just leaving halfway through the game, especially if you're losing. So it's something that you want to consider, partying up with 3 or 4 others, just to make sure that you've got 4 people that consistently stay in the game, that know what they're doing, and that that are doing well at it. So so just make sure that in the end, it's not the be-all and end-all to make sure that you're first, but being first does help you because people are going to recognise you for being a high level or for having those blue flames and go, oh, I've played against him before, let's invite him, and and then play with you, and you find out they're really good, you can learn from them, and you basically want to just play with people that are good, play against people that are good, and surround yourself, and that way you can learn from the game and learn to make yourself better, and as a result of that, then getting into Masters. So even when some of your friends are not on, just grind through that solo time, but scout and look for people that did really well, and invite them and talk to them and play with them, and build up a kind of a friends list around people that play that competitive game mode that you want to play with, and everything else that kind of goes alongside that. So that's something that you want to get into, definitely, and that's something that I do a lot myself, and a lot of my friends list are just literally COD players because I don't really play anything else but COD. But there we go. So But all of those kind of things are something that you want to kind of take into consideration when playing league play. As I said, a lot of it's based on appearance as well. So, for example, when I'm in a lobby, if I've got a really high rank or something like that, people will look at me and go, "Wow, he must be really good." That's not necessarily the case, because people are bronze masters or whatever it might be, and there are people at diamond that are absolutely trash that I've played against that just get carried all the way. So, have a think about all of those things there. It's definitely something you want to think about going forwards, but take those things into account, and just do as good as you can, and then going forwards, subscribe to this video and I'll bring more gameplay soon.